grid 2 feet so that we can block off our window here. So I'm getting ahead of myself. So the next thing what we need to do is take our scale and go to our 1/2 inch, and we want to make tick marks every foot to create our little grid. I'm going to do this quickly so it's not going to be the neatest. And then I'm going to want to know where our foot measurements are going up the wall. We already have our 5 foot. All right, so everything on this wall here, on this back wall, is a true measuring point. Everything. All right, so from here to here on that wall is 1 foot, and from here to here is 1 foot. Now we need to create a grid out here so that we can use our walls to use as measuring points. So again, every line must go through the vanishing point. So I go to my vanishing point and I go to my 1 foot marker on the wall and I draw a guide. And I go to my vanishing point and I go to my 2 foot marker and I draw a guide. Now notice the horizon line just stays straight. This is really fun to do when you start doing it. I think you'll enjoy it. Now, in the essence of time, I think we're going to skip this side and we'll go back and do it. But we need our floor grid, so we want to do it on the floor. And we go through every line. I'm going to darken this corner line just so that we know that this is the bottom of our side wall. All right?
Okay.
You might be having a hard time seeing those guides, but as long as you can see them, we're good. And I'm also going to darken our wall line here. Okay, so you sort of see this room coming to shape, but now what we need are our cross lines, our horizontal lines. And how we're going to get that is we're going to take our triangle and we're going to set it right on our T-square, and we're going to take one of the corners of the room. I'm going to take this right-hand corner, and I'm going to line up my triangle to that, and I'm going to take a guide and I'm going to go right across the floor like that. Now I'm using that as a guide because every place that angular line crosses our measuring lines this way, I'm going to take that guide and that point, and that is our horizontal floor measuring guide. So now there's a cross, so I'm going to use that. Now, as I'm coming down in this drawing, or forward, notice that these boxes are getting larger. That's a key with figuring out perspective.
What is the angle of the triangle that you used? Is it 45 or?
You can use a 45. This is a 30-60.
Okay.
I sort of like the 30-60. Now, once we have the floor grid, guess what? We can just bring our verticals right up the wall. We're lining up our T-square to the board, our triangle, and we're going up. I'm making these darker than I normally would, just so that you can see. So we're not even going to see the top of the wall when we get forward here in our space. Alrighty, so Kathy did say that our window was like 2 feet 5 inches. Let's just say it's 2 feet 6 inches, okay? If this is 1 foot into the space, this is 2 feet, and I'm just going to eyeball this and say that's 2.5. All right? I'm going to take a guide, and if the ceiling is 9, we probably have that as a 8-foot window. Let's just pretend it's 8 feet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we're going to take our window up to 8 feet, right?
Okay.
And how wide is it?
2.5 feet? Or 2 feet?
2 feet?
It's 2 feet, yeah.
So if this is the one end, this is 1 foot, this is 2 feet. Right?
Yes.
So now I'm going right up to my 8-foot measure, and I'm going to darken this so that I can really see this. Now what's nice about getting your whole grid finished, which we haven't done on the other side yet, is to get your grid finished, then lay trace on top of your grid, because as you start adding elements and guides, it tends to get a little bit, I believe this window is actually about 6 inches off finished floor. Either 6 inches or a foot. So I'm going to bring up our window. And I'm going to bring up our window. And then if I use our vanishing point, here's the bottom of our window. So now we've created this window, but it doesn't look very three-dimensional, does it? See, I could take this and erase all these guides to make it a little bit more open. So now I have to go in there and think about how that molding and that trim would be. So if I just eyeball this a little bit with my vanishing point,